So if you guys ever can't get logged in with Zoom, you can always go to the YouTube link. That's our normal YouTube link for the recordings, and you'll see it live, but you won't be able to be interactive. Okay. We are live on YouTube. Okay. All righty. Let's go ahead and I'll bring up the keynote. Welcome everybody and Merry Christmas. Christmas Eve or Festivus. It's Happy Festivus Day. So tonight, this is the agenda. And we're going to start out. Yes, I've started the recording already. So we're going to do the volunteer and the member announcements. And then Al Tribbett is going to bring us up to speed on Apple news and other tech news. We'll do tech Q&A. And then we've got Pete doing pages. And then, of course, our virtual raffle at the end. So you can get cards and buy yourself some Christmas presents or New Year's presents. So anyway, I have just out on my own side, I've got my MacBook Pro with the new M1 chip and Big Sur arriving tomorrow. So I'll be running it through its paces and we'll see. There's still some issues with Big Sur, but it's the only way you can get the machine and it'll be a good way to test it. But I'm not moving my mission critical machines over to Big Sur yet. So, but it is showing some promise. And that being said, do we have any volunteer or member announcements? Oh, I forgot to play. Oops, forgot this. So someone has to talk to him about his texting. So Santa was texting and driving. And me and the boys took a sleigh out for a joyride last night. I could swear that telephone jumped out in front of us. So Rudolph's red nose, and of course he's lying, so his nose is getting longer. So, all right, let's go ahead and stop share. And Mr. Donovan Hillman, I know you have an announcement. I've spotlighted you. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to greet everybody and say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. And if we have any new members, welcome. We're glad to have you. And if you have anybody that's interested in seeing us, now we have a very easy way to make that happen. So,
yeah.
And I keep updating I do my column still, even though you can see it live on YouTube.
Yeah, I think sometimes I can get by better watching yours or reading yours and get more out of it. And if you are new members or old members, don't forget we have our first Saturday of the month class from 9 to about noon. And then the third Saturday, we have the online Zoom classes, same thing. So Karen and a cadre of others do kind of just go through what you want. And then I'll have different topics for the first Saturday class, and the WITS meets on the second Saturday. So everybody's meeting at the same place, Zoom for the time being. So thank you. Any other members, if you have any announcements or anything, click on the participant screen and raise your hand. And if you can't find that, you can just speak up. It's members and volunteers can make any announcements they want. It's time to talk to the membership. And I guess nothing. So moving right along, because I want to try we want to give Pete enough time. So we're going to go through this pretty, not quickly, but we're going to try to get him in a little bit early. So anyway, Al Tribbett does a great job on our Facebook and just keeps up with a lot of this stuff. And he's going to go through. He has a few items, as he always does. And he's also got the best screensaver going for the holidays, even with the MacNexus logo up there. I love it. So, Al, Merry Christmas. And I see a martini on your left shoulder, it looks like. Is that right? Oh, man, I just love it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Now we're having a settle for you.
I'm not seeing any of these. Sure.
Are you running dual monitors?
Yeah, I am.
So did you hit the share and hit desktop 1?
Yep. Let's see. Do this again. It's not coming up here.
Is the actual second share screen coming up?
They're all I've got 3 screens and they're all numbered and stuff. And I'm hitting the one I need to bring up is the first one, and I got nothing.
Well, try the second, and then you can always move that window over if you need to, because we're not getting anything yet.
They all have a question mark there on the.
Well, are you doing it on Keynote or Safari or what?
I'm reading my text from off my iPad and stuff.
You want to display as you want it to Safari.
Stuff I want to display is from Safari.
So another option on that screen is not to do your desktop, to actually go right to the app Safari and see if that'll display.
Okay. Well, I've
in the share screen.
Okay.
And if not, we'll have you exit and come back in.
Safari. Okay, I'll shift. Well, damn it.
Yeah, why don't you? Well, let me remove the spotlight and see if that's making a difference. Go ahead and try now.
Okay, let me close this and try again here. How about that?
And if not, well, okay. So why don't you exit Zoom, fire Zoom back up with the link, and come in and make you co-host when you come in.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's probably the best. Could be a Zoom issue. And actually quit Zoom.
Yeah, okay.
So anybody heard any good jokes lately? Well, it's a good time while I was doing that. If there's any questions on anything, go ahead. This would be a great time. We can fill in with Q&A because it was going to be after Al anyway. Mary, you have a hand up. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
How do I see that some of you have some great backgrounds. You've got the mountain. How do we get that?
I hired an artist to draw this on the wall behind.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, how new is your computer?
About 3 years old.
You should be fine. So I'll share my screen and show you how to do it. So there's a couple ways to get there, but what I like to do is I go to Zoom, and you guys are seeing my screen now, right?
Yeah.
So I go to Zoom and Preferences and come on down to Backgrounds and Filters.
Okay.
And if you're brand new, you'll have none there. But what I do is I go into my photos library,
Yeah.
and I export the ones. Now you should always use a landscape mode picture.
Got it.
And are you guys seeing my preference screen? Because I know Zoom sometimes does it.
Yes.
You see that screen?
Yes.
Good. Because sometimes Zoom doesn't display certain screens for the presenter. So what I do is I go into photos and I choose a few of the landscape, wide photos that I want. I export them from photos into my downloads folder. And then from the downloads folder, I hit this plus sign. Now is when you won't see what comes up. But when I hit the plus sign and click add image, you're not seeing my window here, right? The settings window.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you would just navigate to where those are in your downloads folder, and then you would add them, and then they get up on this palette like that. And so at any time you can change your palette to whatever you want.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's great. And then there's some other little things you can do. You can do video filters where you can add like a screen around it or something like that. And then in the lower right, if you have a new enough computer, it'll say, Studio Effects Beta, and that you can add mustaches and things like that. But I do want to point out one thing: when you're in virtual backgrounds, do not check I have a green screen unless you actually do have a green screen. So you would say no to a green screen there. So
What kind of a nerd would have a green screen anyway?
well, I've got
one.
and you need to let me know if you need it back. I'm not having to use it. I'll tell you, I'm so impressed with how Zoom handles all this.
Yeah.
Welcome, Pete. How are you doing?
I can't complain, but sometimes I still do. Hopefully everybody's doing well.
Let me go ahead and undo my share. So Melissa, I think you have a hand up also.
I do. And since you have a landscape photo up there, this might relate to that. I have an iPhone 11, and one of the feature, an 11 Pro, one of the features. What?
And you have new glasses.
Yes. One of the features in the 11 in at least iOS 13 was to capture content outside the frame and to actually edit to reframe a photo. And I seem to have lost that feature in iOS 14.
How old is the photo?
I took it today, this afternoon.
Because there was a thing where it takes it's taking two photos essentially, and it can overlay that other, but that drops off after a certain amount of time. Pete,
30 days.
You want to chime in on that?
Yeah, there is a toggle switch in your camera utility in the settings app. So in the settings app, you would scroll down to camera, and there is a toggle that says photograph outside bounds, or I forget the exact wording, but you should see it there. So on the device you want to affect, go to settings, then scroll down to camera, and then in camera should be there. I'll do it now after I've said it. See if I'm just crazy or it's really there.
Under composition, there's view outside frame.
Yeah, view outside frame. There it is.
Yeah, so mine was on by default. So that's good. Oh, and mirror front camera, that's so you can do that other. That's a good one to do.
I did have it on. There used to be a little square with a plus sign that appeared on a photo when that happened, and I haven't seen that in a while. Does it matter if it's landscape or portrait?
No, it doesn't matter if it's landscape or portrait. Here's what let's try. If we have a second here, if you open the camera app if you open the camera app on your device,
it depends on what lens you're using. So Melissa, do you have the 1 and the 2?
I have the 0.5, the 1 and the 2.
Well, hold on a sec. I don't. Let's go back for a sec. If you have the camera app open, there's a little disclosure triangle, and mine, because I have the 12 Pro Max, it's at the top, right between some other icons. It's right in the top center.
Right.
That if you toggle that on and off, you'll see the band of selections, which currently reads slow-mo, video, photo. You'll see that toggle to another bank of buttons. And there's one that has an aspect ratio on there. It currently should be at 4:3, or you'll see a 4 with a colon and a 3.
Yes.
If you tap that, you can expand out to 16:9. And I think that's the effect you're looking for, because now the full frame is taken up.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, but Pete, if you toggle that back to 4:3, and then if you're on 0.5 or 1, you do not get the extra. If you tap 2.5, you notice that it covers the rest, and that's where it takes the rest of that shot so you can edit it later. That was the effect from before. But it only appears on the 2.5, or if you have the 2x or the 2.5x.
Okay, I will study this some more.
Yeah, Melissa, it is hardware dependent. The sensor on each of these camera lenses is different, and it can crop at a different rate based on the viewing angle of the lens. So yeah, some of these closer lenses are able to crop more or to, capture more outside the sensor cropping area, but it could vary, because I know your initial tee up there was that it varied from hardware to hardware. So that is consistent with the fact that it is relying upon the lens's field of view and stuff. So yeah, definitely play with it, but ping me 1-to-1 if you are still stuck. I'm curious to see if we can't solve it.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
And Mary, did we answer your question already? Or did you have another one?
I have another one on my preferences. While you were talking, I tried to upload a couple of things from iPhoto, and it tells me that I need to have my green screen. And you said I shouldn't be using it.
What computer are you on?
Hang
MacBook,
on.
an iMac, a MacBook Air,
It's an iMac.
and how old is it? You may have you updated your Zoom, and what operating system are you on?
I might have to look. Hang on a minute.
Yeah. So you're going to have to look to see if it's any of that stuff.
Okay.
All right. Has Al made it back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let me give you co-host privileges. And I'll ask Anna Phelan, you have a question also? Go ahead.
Had to do with the iPhone. I'm thinking of upgrading my iPhone 11 Pro Max to the 12 Pro Max, and I want to know if it's worth it.
Well, yeah, would or could or should, it's,
Yeah.
I don't, it, 5G hasn't rolled out all that much. I mean, it's a good upgrade. You might get a decent trade-in on it. Are you thinking about switching carriers?
No.
Okay, because that's always an easy answer when you switch carriers. But that's a tough call.
Unless you're really a big camera person, that really is going to exploit the capabilities of the newer camera. I had the 11 Pro Max, and it was plenty robust. And if unless you're a camera person, you're going to shoot a lot of photos, and you do that regularly. You could probably pass this time around and
Yeah, I tend to agree, and because it's, but the other thing is, if you when you get a new phone, if you trade your phone in or you sell it after 2 years, that's kind of its best value proposition then, because it drops significantly in value after 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the input. I'm hedging, and I think I'll stick with it.
Yeah, and the 5G there's not a huge amount of 5G rolled out yet, and it will get
Right.
more and more. So I wouldn't look at that as a way to tease you into it. I like the fact that actually it's funny. I love the 2.5X, but I find that there are times when it's too much zoom now. And that surprised me because I always wanted more zoom, more zoom, more zoom. So anyway. All right, Al, let's see if we can get your screen shared, and then we'll finish up on tech Q&A after that.
I'm getting the same thing here, Ken. So that's virtual portion of the screen here.
Well, do you have dual monitor support checked in your Zoom preferences?
Uh,
Go up to zoom.us, come down to preferences, and under
let's see, Zoom.
and you can go into the share screen and check some of your settings there.
Okay.
And under general, it says use dual monitors, but I prefer not to, even though I have 2 monitors.
Should I turn it off is what you're suggesting?
You have used, try turn dual monitors off and see if that makes a difference for you.
Let's try this again. Optimize for video clip. No.
And are you trying to just use Safari or just share your desktop?
It gives me the same display on each one of those options and stuff. The little exclamation mark on.
But what about is it Safari listed there also?
Safari's listed, but it has the same exclamation mark inside of a triangle. So
yeah, you may need to do a restart. Pete, you got any ideas on that?
Just catching you here at the middle of the conversation. What was the question?
He's having trouble sharing his screen.
And we're on not on an iOS device, but a macOS device.
Correct.
Yeah. And I have 3 screens in all, but the one I want to straight is the primary one. And then when I go to share,
Oh, yeah.
when I go to share screen, it shows the options, the 3 desktops and all that. And I have a white triangle with an exclamation mark in it, and nothing happens.
Well, the 3 options, I think you should be seeing, like, it probably says desktop 1, desktop 2, and desktop 3 or something like that.
But
And you're just not sure which one.
No,
do you know which one?
That's in the share screen.
Because desktop 1 is probably your primary.
It's just not coming up.
Oh, so there's a little.
Got an error.
Oh, maybe your hardware can't handle it at the moment. I don't know if you have a lot of applications open or something, but maybe it's something.
Well, I guess I could
Maybe
close
something like that.
Okay. Well, I could close a couple of things.
Oh, I would.
That's the only thing I can really think of.
I always do a restart before a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, maybe. Yep. Loving your green screen background there, Al, and your it's very festive.
Yeah. It's
I don't know if I believe the headline on the cap, but
well, fake it till you make it, Okay. Quit.
While you're messing with that, let's go ahead and I'll try answer. Pete and I can answer any more tech questions. So feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself and just ask tech questions. I'll keep trying.
Yeah, you bet.
So, and if worse comes to worse, maybe a restart. So with very little running. But anybody else, any other tech questions? Raise your hand or unmute your mics. Wow, everybody's working great. Al, maybe you should submit it. Raise your hand and ask a tech question.
Raise your hand.
It's unmuted.
You guys can just speak up. I hear you saying, raise your hand, raise your hand. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Darling, go ahead.
I can.
Yeah.
This is Rudy Villa here with Mary.
Yeah.
So I've got an 11 Pro Max, and it is dropping calls.
Who's your carrier?
Verizon.
Okay.
Here at the house, I only get 2 bars. When
You
I'm
have
out,
Wi-Fi calling enabled.
Apple told me to turn it off.
It was that after you were dropping calls?
That was while I was dropping calls. They
Yeah,
said,
so that's
turn it off.
why I asked that. So did it make any difference?
No.
Well, then that's weird. Have you done a hard reset on the phone?
Hard reset. I took it to Apple, had them do it at the Galleria. They did a complete diagnostic. Everything was fine.
Did you make
They
any
said
calls
take it
while
to
you were there?
Verizon. I had 2 new SIM cards put in, and it's still dropping calls.
Wow.
Is it could just be low transmission of the cellular signal?
Well, but that's what I'm saying is I would try Wi-Fi calling and see if it drops. Because if that happens, then it's definitely the hardware in the phone because Wi-Fi calling does not depend on the cell tower.
well, it's also it would be good to know.
You may get some dropouts of voice on Wi-Fi, but not dropped calls. I'm sorry, Pete, I stepped over you.
That's all right. I was going to say it might be of some utility to know if this is happening basically from the same spot all the time, or it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, the calls just don't make it through.
Usually here at the house, but it has happened in other places as well.
Yeah, I find that. Yeah, I find that there are locations where I know I'm going to get a drop call. In fact, there are certain routes on Highway 80 where I'll say to the other party, hey, the call's going to drop right here. I'll call you right back. And sure enough, the call drops.
Is that just
so there
because
are some, well, I was going to say there are some residences out there. I've been to a friend's house that just have really bad cell reception. So if it's happening at home consistently, but if you're noticing the very, very same behavior when you're out, then I would say maybe it's the hardware. But if you can narrow it down to a location and we can rule out the hardware based on a location's reception, that would be helpful.
Because I had my last phone was the iPhone 6, and I never had here at this house, same place, never had any drop calls at all.
Well, Verizon's doing some revamping of some of their towers, as most of the carriers are now too, because of 5G rollout. So,
You think that could be a
anyway,
problem?
you should find. And Mary, are you on Verizon also?
I don't have a cell phone.
So I would try be around other people or try it from this Verizon store just to verify that if you know what a signal. But that's why I was asking if you try Wi-Fi and it's still dropping. I mean, dropping calls, not just dropping out some speech. The thing is that it's to do with the either cell signal in the phone or the cell carrier. So
Okay, because I had it, when I had the Wi-Fi calling on, I would be dropping,
right, you
out.
wouldn't drop the call, but you're dropping the speech.
yeah, drop out, but I wouldn't drop
Yeah,
the
and
call.
those are two different things. That's packet loss. And that has to do with the strength of your Wi-Fi or are you guys on AT&T or Comcast?
Comcast.
Yeah, so which is better than AT&T. All right, so we can't, those are the tools to try, but we'll,
Okay, all right.
anecdotal. Darian, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I had a strange error message or something in LibreOffice where it was telling me that another user was using LibreOffice, but the other user was me. And so I shouldn't proceed until I had cleared that out. I finally gave up and shut the whole thing down, and it seems to be fine. I was mostly wondering if I have about 25 gigabytes available on my drive out of 100. Are you bringing dinner? Out of 150 gigabytes. Should that be plenty of room to spare?
Out of how many? 25 out of 100 left?
I have 25 left out of it. It's out of 120.
Okay, so the second user thing wouldn't really be affected by that. I just wondered if you kind of had LibreOffice two versions kind of fired up. You know, did it not come back after it's only done it one time?
Only one time, hasn't happened again, and I updated my LibreOffice.
Yeah, I think that was just an anomaly, and many things like that are cured by just restarting also. But on your hard drive space, if you have a spinning hard drive, it's important when you get below 20% space left, you have to start worrying about it, and it's really critical if you get below 10%.
I think I have a solid state drive.
Well, it's a little less critical on solid state, but it still applies when you get below 10%. You just won't notice the speed hit as much as it starts to decrease with as much air that you have there. But yeah, if you get below 10%, you need to do some gymnastics to clear space or get a bigger hard drive. But I don't think that would lead to what your issue was.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Let's see in the chat. It's a shame if it's gone. What's that, Joellen?
Has to do with like.
In
camera.
reference to Melissa's issues, Melissa's reporting that the feature, the view outside the frame, was dropped in OS 14.
Well, it's working on mine.
Really? It's not
Yeah.
working on mine.
Okay, well.
I think the distinction is here, Ken, that you can view outside the frame now. And it's weird, Melissa, amazing discovery. I didn't realize there was a fundamental change to the fact that now you can view outside the frame. However, shooting and editing later is no longer accessible, even if you are viewing outside the frame. So I think that was an interesting omission they snuck by there. But that's definitely interesting that did not make it through to iOS 14.
Oh yeah, you're right. So I didn't try to do the edit, but sure enough. Wow.
Yep. So good discovery, Melissa. And that's probably one of those features where Apple was thinking, well, not too many people use it, so they'll never notice. But hey, they ain't going to get nothing past this group.
Well, and you know what was the way it was set up the old way is it would actually take the second picture. And after a certain amount of time, that second picture would go away. And because it assumed at that point you didn't need it because it didn't edit. And I think it was a 30-day or something like that. So yeah, that's disconcerting. I wonder if maybe hopefully they'll bring it back if enough people say something. So it's weird that it shows it on the screen but then doesn't do it, because the old way it would show it on the screen and it would do it. So, and it saved me a couple times chopping people's arms off, you know. Any other questions? Alex Rivet, are you back?
I am back.
Okay.
There we go. You know what it was? I just migrated to Big Sur, and I didn't give Zoom permission to share the screen. So that was a ticket.
Okay, you're a co-host now, and we'll have to keep it 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Not a problem. Well,
your screen's not up yet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but your screen's not up yet.
Okay, sure. How's that?
You are working.
Working. Okay, let's get a right link here. Ooh, okay. Things got a little scattered here. Okay, the first note here is from Apple Insider. Apparently, they have seen a note to investors from Goldman Sachs analyst Rod Hall, who writes about the Mac's revenues have risen 50% year over year in the third quarter of 2020, as the global PC unit shipments increased 18%. And of course, that's driven by the continued work from home and remote learning trends. They're saying the Cupertino tech giant is likely to see continued gains as users adopt M1 equipped Macs for their performance upgrades. So that's pretty straightforward. My Apple stock is looking very healthy these days.
Yes.
The next item here is the site's 9 to 5 Mac and Apple Insider. A report, Apple's released a comprehensive guide to how to check if your data and or devices are being accessed by others, plus preventative steps and how to lock people out when needed. It's a 20-page support guide, and it's called Device and Data Access When Personal Safety is at Risk. Let's see, this little thing from these guys here. It has an assortment of topics here that pretty well rounded. It's a good primer, A to Z. When I look through the table of contents, so some of the stuff I already knew, but it's nice to have a document that I can refer to. I think it might be of some value to folks. Again, it's go ahead.
Al, if I could provide maybe some color commentary here, is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, these compendiums are most useful when you fear you have had some sort of a breach or something like that. But I just wanted to kind of say to everybody listening on, this isn't something that is necessarily recommended for you to go through an audit. And when Al said earlier about how somebody having your location or somebody could possibly have your location, 99% of what we're talking about is an app that is accessing your general location, so it can make recommendations to you based on where you are. So these are things we do want, right? But then sometimes there's unwanted things. Like, for instance, my daughter didn't know that when she had Snapchat turned on, people could see where she was. I showed her that, now she knows. And so it's little things like that where people heavily engaged in social media, or, having all the Facebooks and Instagrams and Snapchats and all that stuff turned on, you do start to lose track of this stuff sometimes. I would say, though, don't get too worried, or don't grab this document and start auditing your device. It really is kept under well control because of Apple's walled garden and their transparency with privacy. So I just kind of wanted to add a little bit of color commentary there, which is, this is all good for transparency purposes, but please nobody get worried and go grab this document and start auditing their device.
Yeah, and remember, the cell phone providers, the cell phone carriers track you every place you are, and that's subject to subpoena. So even if you turned all of this stuff off, that's still there. So, it's I think it's better to have Apple manage that for you and let you know what's going on. And they really do try to, but that comes to that one screen that comes up every time, or the first time you use an app that needs your location, whether it be GPS, whether it be some other service. It's going to say, do you want to allow once, always allow, or never allow? And you need to take that into concern in your mind, saying, is there any reason this app needs my location? And obviously it's a very good tool, and you can set that from the beginning. You can always go in and change it afterwards, but just don't pop through that screen real quick. Give it a thing, because the other thing is, even if it's an app you may want to at some point, like that ski tracks app I showed in the beginning, I let it use my GPS while I'm using the app, but I don't need it to be tracking the rest of the time. And they don't do anything nefarious, but it also is just a little bit of wear on your data and on your battery. So, you know, be judicious with that. And I don't know if you're going to bring this up too, but this quote face off with Facebook now too.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you bring that up, we'll talk about it then. So go ahead.
It's not one of my topics, and I know we're short for time and stuff there, but
Yeah,
this
that one's a big deal, and Apple's trying to protect you, and Facebook is only out to protect their revenue by saying that it's small business. No, it's all about Facebook tracking you. Remember, with Facebook, you're not the customer, you're the product.
You're the product.
Right now.
Yeah. Thanks for
We're gonna do it tomorrow on the way out to Stacy's.
Okay, whoever's talking in the background, please mute yourself there. I can't find you on the list.
Okay.
Thanks for that context, Ken and Pete. And so we're moving along here.
Well, you have to be separated anyway, right?
Okay, who just said separated? We need to have you mute your mic, please. I can't find your mic on here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, let's see. Apple reports that the iOS 14 is running 70%, 72% of all devices, and 81% of devices introduced in the last 4 years, showing adoption rates are higher than iOS 13 from 2019. So that's oops, I think that's the wrong link. There we go.
And Al will be posting these links in the chat when he's done during Pete's presentation, so you can always access these after the fact.
Yeah. So, okay. Apple's released, of course, iOS 14.3 and iPadOS 14.3 to the public with Pro Raw shortcuts updates, compatibility for the new AirPods Max and Fitness Plus. If you're not familiar with Apple's Pro Raw, it's a new image format. It's exclusive to the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. With the Pro Raw enabled, users are able to access all the information provided by the image signal processor, combining the benefits of both DSLR style RAW photography with computational photography. I've had a little opportunity to play with that, and it's nice. There's also another app that called Halide that takes advantage of that, and highly recommend that app as well. In some respects, it's better than Apple's generic camera app. Let's see here. And of course, I guess Zoom has rolled out the update for their native support of Apple Silicon Macs on December 21st and stuff. I guess it's going to be, they'll make it universal, so it'll run on Intel or the new Apple Silicon Macs. I'll be interested in seeing what Ken has to say when he gets his new toy here tomorrow. Next, we're seeing a whole bunch of scuttlebutt that we've talked about before about Apple entering the autonomous car market, and Apple Insider has some remarks from Volkswagen's CEO. And originally, I guess Apple had intentions of having developing a car that would that people could drive, but now they're kind of moved their resources and attention to something autonomous. So for me, I'll believe it when I see it. I think there's a lot of challenges, but of course, Apple's got deep pockets. They're talking about this particular article talks about them perhaps having something by 2024. And so it remains to be seen, but there continues to be quite a bit of banter about in multiple sites and tidbits of the technology that they're evolving out there.
Well, all this hoopla is based on one rumor, and it was 6 years ago. right on Christmas Day when I was vacillating whether I was going to buy my Tesla or whether I was going to wait for the Apple iCar that was supposedly coming out. And I'm kind of glad I ended up picking up the Tesla because I'd still be waiting 5 years later. And you know what? It's not kind of how Apple does it. So I think it's far-fetched because it's ugly and dirty to produce cars. I mean, it just is a ton of work, and they're not producing their own stuff anyway right now. So
yeah. Well, along those lines, reports of a purported Apple car added $102 billion to Apple's market cap via the rumor mill. Apple gained 4.7% on Tuesday, following a Reuters report on Monday that said the iPhone maker planned to produce electric cars by 2024. Big deal. The tech giant aims to compete in rapidly expanding electric car market with new battery technologies to improve vehicle safety and range, according to the report. Apple ended the day at just shy of $131.90 per share, making a total increase in market cap of $62 billion. That happens to be more than the entire market value of General Motors, which is currently $15.5 billion. So just on a rumor, it's amazing how these valuations can fluctuate so much with just scuttlebutt, but that's an old song. Anyway, I'll be posting
102 billion on a $2 trillion company. It's funny because it's the math of large numbers. That's actually not a huge move.
Yeah. You would think the General Motors would be worth more, but these numbers have, in the tech industry have gotten so stratospheric. You just gotta get numb to them. But $1 billion is still $1 billion for me. So. Anyway, I'll be posting all these links, and of course, on our Facebook page, there's dozens and dozens of things that you can take a look at. I try to post something every day, every couple of days, things that are of note, and that's all I have for now. Thanks, Ken.
Al, thank you, and thanks for all your diligence and posting stuff on Facebook all the time. I mean, I kind of go there and get the quick stuff up, and again, he'll at his leisure here, he'll post it in the chat window. So you do want to kick out the chat window, and then you can copy and paste, or you can save the clickable links on that while.
And of course, I'll be forwarding it to Bob as well. He'll
Bob puts it into blast also, which is great.
Yeah.
So, again, thank you. Big hand. We appreciate all the work on that, Al.
All good.
And actually all the volunteers. I mean, we have to mention that we've got Mary and Lisa are helping put together. So we have the raffle. They've got the members that are attending and things like that. Bob White, who has the membership available. Al's on the board with us also. And I don't see Thomas Spencer isn't around. But anyway, we're volunteers, and it's a few people doing a lot of work, and it's very much appreciated.
Ken?
Yeah.
Well, and let's, acknowledge your work also while we're doing this.
Absolutely.
But we've got someone named Moose. We need a better name.
Yeah, you need to put your first and last name. Is that Sharon? And Hyson. We have a Hyson also.
That's Phil. We know that one.
Okay.
But Moose has got us stumped.
Yeah, that might be a last name. I think we do have somebody with Moose with a last name. That is the last name, excuse me.
All right, then I should have been able to find that.
Okay, so and then what we'll do is I'll mute everybody when we get ready to start with Pete. And I think that was it for everything. We're gonna leave the rest of Tech Q&A to the end, because I do want to give Pete plenty of time, because Pages is great, and Pete always has such good information. So we're gonna start him early, and I will go spotlight Pete, and where is it? Oh, I can't spotlight you because you don't have your video on. All right, so Pete Losey, he's who we call when we want to find out what's going on, and thanks for the help and the tech support on that. But Pages, I know, is one of his favorite programs, and he just he gets down to the pixels on it, and it's really, really good. And I'm looking forward to it. And without further ado, Pete, you're welcome to, there you go. Share your screen. And, oh, I like the new hairdo. Woo! Pretty wild.
Gosh, I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, I guess I better.
Got an uplift going or something there.
Yes,
I
and
like
just to answer a question from earlier, I'll be right back. What kind of nerd would have a green screen? Mine is on a chain.
Uh-oh, it was on a chain.
And I'll be needing that green screen back.
That was captured live. Hey, can you mod up your Mac or your microphone a little bit? You're a little bit weak. Mod it up.
Yes, I can do that. Let me get my little button over here, and let me get a level now. How's that level?
That's a little overmodulated.
All right, how's this?
That's perfect. And
All right, I'll leave it there.
1 second. I'm going to mute everybody because that way they can get their count going better, and then I'll unmute you.
And
hang on. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Pete.
Okay.
Thank you. They need to get it so they can do the count of members.
Okay. And also, there's a quick break, right? I should probably shut down till after the break.
No, we're not doing the breaks anymore. People can do their breaks on their own, kind of thing. So.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Okay.
that works for you? Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Then I can just jump in.
Yes, please. We want to give you as much time as possible.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, everybody, for allowing me to hang out with the cool kids again tonight. As you hear me say, my favorite group to come and hang out with. As we demonstrated earlier, nothing gets past this group. That's why I love you. Every little pixel is overturned, and we get it all figured out eventually, which is what I like. Right here, look, I'm like the weatherman. I got to remember which. Okay, yeah, right here. This is my iPad over here, so I'll be operating that. It's right in front of me. iPad. I'll be operating that. I have an Apple Pencil with the iPad. I'll be messing with that a little bit to show some of the features that Pages takes advantage of with regard to Apple's least expensive piece of hardware, the Apple Pencil. And then we'll just jump into lots of stuff about Pages. So if everybody's ready and without further ado, I'll just jump in here. I do like the way Apple tells the story sometimes of what's new. So I'll often, before I do something like this, go and see what Apple says, right? What did they choose to highlight? And then usually pick, or go with something like that. Oh, we have a visitor. Oh my goodness, if I can catch you, we're going to show you. Oh my gosh, where are you? Whew, we got him. This is Apollo. Say hi, Apollo. Hello to everybody. Oh, you're very busy. Okay, goodbye. There was Apollo. Sorry about that. So with I'm all slobbered up now. With Pages, here's the thing. I have taught. I don't know. Ken, keep me honest here. I probably taught Pages for about 400 hours in my life. And the most remarkable thing I walked away from, I didn't see this on Apple's website. This isn't the story they're telling, but I'm just going to start by saying that Pages is, to me, really the ultimate canvas from which to work for almost all your visual and word processing needs. What I mean by that is there's very, very little that Pages is not capable of. Very little that it is not capable of. As a matter of fact, it is capable of some very advanced features that I wouldn't even expect most consumer and people to be taking advantage of, right? I mean, you can draw Bezier curves with anchor points right inside of Pages. There's tons of things you can do. But the reason I wanted to preface this discussion with that remark is if you're wondering whether or not Pages is the right tool for you, I can with great enthusiasm say, if the answer is no, it wouldn't be for lack of capability. Pages is an extraordinarily capable program that, in my opinion, should serve the needs of just about anybody with the task of having to lay things out on a screen. That hopefully satisfies the why do I even need Pages moment that you might have had when you saw that Pages was the topic tonight. Because if you think about it, we don't often think in terms of what application did I use to create the document, right? We don't often think in those terms that the application is a parent and the document is like the child. You know, I think we just, I'll speak for everybody here, but we just want to get in and do the thing we want to do. We don't want to necessarily be a mechanic and a race car driver. We just want to be a race car driver. So in cases like that, I really believe that a program like Pages, having all of the tools I think anybody would need, unless they're a professional writing invoices for graphic design or something, it's extraordinary. So we're going to dive in. I'm not going to spend too much time because, like I said earlier, I've taught this for hundreds of hours and would probably just love a 2 or 3 hour class on how to refine all the things you put in there. But I'd rather open it up, talk a little bit about how to get the things in there that you want in there or why you might use them in there, and then just give you the creative freedom to pop whatever you want in your Pages document. So just sort of rounding out that opening remarks about why Pages, well, it's about the most capable piece of software as a consumer you can get for any device you have that has an Apple logo and a screen on it, right? Your iPad, your iPhone, your iMac, your MacBook Pro, your MacBook, your MacBook Air, all of these devices are capable of running Pages. And there is very little or no sacrifice either when you go from device to device. Another important thing to remember, it used to be that the iOS version of Pages was less capable than the macOS version of Pages, but not true anymore. There's a convergence now, and you don't have to necessarily worry about, well, will I get the features of one and not the other? There may be a couple of small missing things that this group will inevitably find, but I would challenge that it is the same on all platforms other than the convenience or confidence you might get from wielding a keyboard and mouse as opposed to a trackpad or a touchscreen. Because I'm on my iPad here, and I don't know if you guys have been tracking with all the changes here, no pun intended, but you have a trackpad now on an iPad. Something we've never really had before is the ability to mouse on an iPad. We now have that. So that makes it even
external mouse.
Yeah. I just showed you an Apple case with a trackpad built in. But any mouse that is capable of Bluetooth, a very advanced one like this, or just a simple one, is able to connect, and you can now mouse on the iPad. And as you can see, the mouse, the mouse cursor will move around the iPad very much like it will on a regular screen. It's round to indicate to you that it is emulating a touch, as opposed to an arrow, which would indicate that it's emulating a mouse cursor. But you're capable of having the trackpad if you want it there. So in launching Pages, this extraordinarily capable program that I believe can meet most needs of what you'd want to do with any kind of layout type of app like this. I'm going to open it up here and get to my documents here and close YouTube. So here's Pages. And when I launch Pages, it's going to look very similar, if not just about exactly the same on my iPad in iOS 14 as it is. Oh, and you guys are no longer tracking with me on the screen. So let me see if I can continue broadcasting this screen share here. For some reason it quit.
Yeah, we're seeing just your search menu.
Mm-hmm. see that. No, let's see. There we go. So I launched Pages here, and you can, this side, yeah, you can see, it looks very much like it would on a Mac, and I'm on an iPad here. In fact, if you're running Big Sur, it's identical. There's very little noticeable difference. I'm going to jump in and start a new document. I'm just going to use the plus. It's in the upper right-hand corner, so I'll just mouse over to that. You see up here, we've got the little plus. I'll use that. Now, I'm not a template person. I do not hold it against you if you are a template person. The reason I'm not a template person is because I immediately burst through the boundaries of the template the minute I choose a template. For some reason, my brain is wired to go to the one thing that that template won't do. So I'm not a template person per se, but wow, are these some amazing templates in here. I'm looking through, and it's clear that Apple's designers have spent some time creating templates that are meaningful and compelling to look at. So even as not a template person, I'm looking at this going, oh, I think there's enough here for me to get into, even as not a template person. I get asked often about certificates. And there they are. And there's business cards, even printing on envelopes. Oh yeah, right there. So lots of really cool stuff. Now, don't let the smoke and mirrors fool you. Just because you saw an envelope doesn't mean you'll ever figure out how to get that envelope into your printer to print on it, but it's capable of creating it. You see that nav bar across the top? It gives you all the categories: basic, reports, books, letters. I'll just hit reports here. And you can see these reports are really well laid out. In fact, I'll select one here. I like this monthly report over here. So I'll try that one. And it'll open up to the template. And there it is. And you can see the way the template has multiple pages where you can view those pages and check and see if you like the layout. One thing that they don't tell you about templates is if I use the plus in the upper right to add a page to my template, or do I add a section like that? I think I'll do, let's see. Turn on those. Well, look at you. When you do add a page, it will give you pages that are formatted for this particular template. Again, not a huge fan of templates, but while we're here, I just wanted to kind of note a few things in case you do decide to dive into pages and do decide to select a template and use it. Just a couple things about the interface here. I want to be slow and deliberate about what we're seeing, so forgive me for not speeding through it, but the thing that's off-putting to me about looking at this screen next to me is there ain't enough stuff. I'm just like freaking out a little bit because where's all the bells and whistles and buttons and stuff? That's what people like me like, but I don't see any. It leads me to believe that this might be a reduced down or watered down version of the desktop version. But I assure you it isn't. I don't know how Apple did it, but that little cluster of icons in the upper left up there, there's 5 of them: a paintbrush, a plus, a people plus, dots, an eye, some kind of things, but everything's under there. Everything's under there and really well organized. So I was amazed at how well Apple has managed to keep the functionality really high, but get everything out of your way so you don't have to be staring at it all the time. I don't know if there's any Office users out there, but I use Office every day in my professional life. And boy, when you launch Microsoft Word, which Pages is intended to be positioned as a replacement for, right? When you launch Microsoft Word, there's just tools everywhere. In fact, the top 1/8 of the screen is a ribbon, and that ribbon stays there. This might be a preference thing. If you like a lot of tools on your screen, then this may not be the app for you. But if I show you here how easily accessible they are, maybe might change your tone. Now, what I like about the iOS version as it differs from the desktop version is that I can simply reach up and squeeze my little illustration to push it back a little bit so I can see more of it. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I want to get a little distance between myself and my composition so I can see how it's weighted and is the color good and stuff. So with the iOS version, I can just use my hand, which is really nice if I want to zoom in on something to proofread. I can use my hand. If you're on a Mac or a PC and you're using Pages and you can't touch the screen, then you can just use the little readout on a Mac. It'll be somewhere hereabouts, but it's a zoom readout, and the zoom will allow you to set a certain zoom level if you want. I just use my hand on iOS, but you can set the zoom level. Now, back to templates here for a minute. We started with a template. I can't wait to leave templates and go with a blank document. But while we're here, I did want to point something out that you see that page 1, it's a nice cover page. I like it. And I would like to edit it to be my own, since that's how templates work, right? But I'm clicking it and moving it, and that's not really allowing me to edit it. And it all seems to be moving as one piece. What they've done in this template is they've grouped the elements together. So to your maybe unaware first glance, it just looks like an image or a picture or something. But that's one of the things where you've got to kind of think ahead of Apple a little bit in this template. So what I'll do, because I'm in iOS, is I'll just tap on it and then release. I just tap the first page and then released. And that little reliable flag popped up with all the contextual options. Isn't it interesting? You see this little flag with all the little selections in the black strip there? That's a contextual menu. I think that's very interesting that on touch, you bring it up by touching deliberately and then backing off, and then that little flag appears with all the selections. But on a Mac, you just right click, right? Right click is how you bring up what they call the contextual menu in Mac, in a Mac or in iOS, or sorry, Mac OS. In iOS, you deliberately tap something and then move away. And then that new kind of looking menu, the black flag with the strip of things, comes up. Well, one of them is ungroup, but before we tap ungroup, check it out. Cut, copy, paste, delete. Those are all really good features to be aware of too. So just letting you know that those are under there. I'm going to do ungroup, and notice when I tap ungroup, now all of those elements are independent and I can edit each one. So I'll double tap my monthly report, and then I'll just type in the name of our newsletter. It's called Contextual Menu. Can you see why I hate templates? Is it obvious enough why I hate templates? The very first darn thing I tried to do didn't fit. So I'm already at an impasse with this template, but I know that I could probably expand that text box a little bit and then move it over if I really wanted to get this to work. But in my opinion, if you're going to do that much, why use a template to begin with? But anyway, so that's the template side of Pages, which you may find great utility in using those. Let's get to the blank document. The blank document is a fun one. So back to the plus in the upper right-hand corner, back to the choose a template screen. We don't need no template. We're going to go here to the top under basic. You see I have a blank landscape and a blank portrait and a blank black, which makes my background completely black, or what they call a note-taking template. Basically starts you off with a bulleted list. So I'm just going to use blank. And I'm going to use the portrait one, since most of our word processing compositions are Just a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper set in front of us in portrait orientation, usually. There's some exceptions. And here I am. I'm in my document now. I'm struck by the lack of stuff, but we'll see where that stuff is here in a minute. In viewing my document here, I also see a band at the bottom. That band at the bottom shows up for me. The reason that band at the bottom shows up for me is because I currently have my iPad attached to an Apple keyboard. So that bar at the bottom is what you see when you have a keyboard attached. You will not see that bar at the bottom if you don't have a keyboard attached. What you're more likely to see is the on-screen keyboard like this. So this is what you're more likely to be seeing if you are in Pages and you're getting ready to start typing. One of the nice things about having a physical keyboard like this Apple iPad case that I have here with a keyboard built in is that I can get rid of the on-screen keyboard and have a little bit more room for my real estate. So that's what I'll do here is be able to view more and have the screen not be taken up by the keyboard. Well, one of the big obstacles, I would say, for users of both Microsoft's Word and Apple's Pages program, one of the big issues here is that we want to be able to do a custom size when we need to. All of these applications tend to default to an 8.5 by 11 document. And while that's usually what we want, there's those of us who just feel better knowing we could change it if we wanted to, right? So if you ever have the need for a different size document, and this is very useful, you may need to use your imagination, but I mean, envelopes, it even says on the box of envelopes that you buy what size they are. So you have a cheat sheet there. If you wanted to do an irregular card, maybe you bought a frame at Target and the frame is 3 by 5. You can create your document to be any size you want. Well, let's take a look at the menu where we will find these types of edits and others. It's the little ellipsis or the 3 dots in the upper left-hand corner here. Like I said earlier, Apple has managed to store everything neatly under those 5 icons. So we're going to start with the 3 dots, and that will be this nice menu of really juicy tidbits that we can poke around in. Now, if you're a nerd like me, you'll go in here and check them all out because they all do something interesting. But since no matter how much I beg, Ken will only give me 1 hour instead of 4, we are relegated to only checking out some of these. In Power Mac Online, maybe that's a good idea. So here we are with this menu, and let's just start at the top. Share, export, and print. 3 very, very important utilities that are right there on top. Print, let's just start from the bottom and work our way up, only because print is the easiest. If you have a printer that is on your wireless network, Apple has built in a way for your wireless device to see it. So if I hit the print button here, I see at least one printer on my network. Let me tap that and see if there are any more. It currently only sees 1. There are 3. So this is one of those pitfalls you can run into sometimes where it's not recognizing your printer. That's where you give Ken a call and say, Ken, get over here and fix my printer. Okay, so print, it's pretty self-explanatory. The only variable here is under options. And if we go under options, you can choose to print double-sided, or you can choose to turn off color and print black and white. But other than that, print is pretty self-explanatory. Export and share, however, are not necessarily self-explanatory. I'm going to start with export. This is how you can export the document from the canvas that you've just painted on to these 5 formats. You can export this as a PDF document. Yes, that is a PDF document, the real kind of PDF document, one that people could open with any device, a phone, a PC, a Mac, a Linux machine. PDFs are universally accepted. So a PDF format would be a perfect document format to share something with somebody using that format. In fact, it would be downright unetiquette of you, whatever that word is. I know there's some wordsmithers out there, whatever is unetiquette, uncouth, whatever. If you send people a Pages document, that's no good because that assumes they have Pages, or assumes that it's the same version as your Pages, or assumes that they have the same fonts you do. But to keep yourself safe from all that, you just export your document out as a PDF. Pete, are you telling me that that means I can open Pages, use that rectangle as a canvas to splatter whatever old thing I want on there, and then save it as a PDF? Yes, you can do that. You don't need Illustrator or Photoshop or any of these expensive programs. Now, if you're a pro, you're going to break through the boundaries pretty quick. But if you ain't a pro and you want to put photos and things you found on the internet and text and even some videos and music if you want, then you're in the right place. So when you export all this stuff, it makes sense to give it some thought how you're going to export it. If you're a professional and you're working with somebody else and you're going to make some edits to a document and then send it to them, and they're going to make some edits and then send it back to you. Well, they only have a PC and it don't have Pages on it. So as you can see here, one of the selections is to export your canvas that you created in Pages as a Word doc. Now the people on the other end who only have Word can not only open it, but can edit it too, save it, and then send it back to you. You can open it in Pages, edit it, send it back to them. So full collaboration can be done between Microsoft's Word application and Apple's Pages application from the iWork suite. And PDF, Word document, EPUB, which I don't think you'll ever use unless you're publishing an ebook. It's for ebook publishing. RTF, which is rich text format. Another one you'll probably never use if you're not a professional. And then there's the Pages template. What's cool about that is you can save it and then use it as a template, meaning launch from it every time. So for those of you who like to ask, well, can I change the default font? Can I change the default tab spacing? Can I change the default margins? The answer is kinda. You can't go in and change them right in the program, but you can create a template. That template can have everything set up the way you want it. Font, margins, whatever, paper size. Then you can just launch from that each time. So a good way to customize all your opening settings is Pages template. Now, also in this menu, right above export, which we just went through, is share. And I know I'm kind of working backwards here. We're talking about how to get the document out. We haven't even talked about the document yet, but I like to do this backwards because for those of you who might have been going into this with their arms crossed like this, going, I don't know about this Pages. Well, I may have just given you the Holy Grail, meaning, you mean I can share these with people that have Word? And then, okay, I'm listening. However, let me just qualify that a little bit under that export menu. When you do choose Word, Word is a far less capable program than Pages. So you may be able to lay something out in Pages just the way you like it with gradients and colors and fonts. But then once it gets over to Word, it's all messed up. The document has pushed the images down to the bottom or this down up to the top. So there are some issues with heavily formatted documents going from Pages to Word. But if it's just words on a page, then it's easily fluid. Something to keep in mind. And then we have share. Share is interesting because what do you mean share? What am I sharing? If I choose email right now as my way to share, I've basically just pulled up a blank email and there's a Pages document, the one I'm working on, attached to that email. This to me isn't a great way to share because I'm emailing you a Pages document. Now, unless you have Pages, and unless you have Pages on the device you're currently looking at this email on, it might get kind of confusing. So even the share option leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion, because you don't get to decide which format you're sharing in. So I don't know. I like to export it first in a format that I know the recipient will be able to use, and then I'll share the exported document. Brings me to the last part of this little submenu up here, and that is, but Pete, where does the document go? If I do export it, then how am I going to share it later? It's a good question. With iOS 13, I think it might have even been 12, Apple started shipping a little app on your device called Files. It's really innocuous. I hope that's the right word, meaning like doesn't do much. It's off in the corner and you may not even know you have it. You can't delete it. That's how I know you have it, but you might not know you have it. I'm going to search for mine just by going to the search and typing in Files, and you'll see that it is an app, a little blue folder on the cover. I can open that app, and this is basically like a Finder window on my iPad, meaning I can look around at what I have in the Files app. Wait, so do you mean to tell me that a file browsing system is now available on the iPad? Yes. And look at me, I'm doing both sides. Look at, well, that's an interesting development. Well, yes, it is. It was about 2 years ago. Yes, we now have a file browser on the iPad and the iPhone, I guess the iOS devices. We were sorely missing that before. When you wanted to share a document, you basically had to have the document open and hit share. But now we can navigate to a document and then share it. So I don't know, all that's pretty cool to me. Let's go back over to Pages. And here I am on iOS. Now, if you're on a Mac and you do export, well, shoot, you'll just decide where you want to export it to and then share it from there. Now with the iOS device, like this iPad, we can do the same thing. So I'll go to export and we'll export this as a PDF. And it's saying, oh, great. Well, do you want to send it via email? See, this is a much better way than just going right to share, because here I got that little go-between window that asked me which format I'd like to convert it to. So from here, I can now look at all of these options. I'll just choose mail for now, and you'll see what's happened here is it's now in the body of an email, my document, and I can just type whoever I want to send it to and send it out. But another thing under export, if I go to export and I go to PDF, just one last thing is I can say save to files. Look at that right there. Save to files. Now, if I do that, it'll basically, just like on my Mac, it'll say, well, where do you want to save it? And to keep things simple, I'm just going to save it right in the root folder of my iCloud Drive. I do have all these other folders in here, and I could create a folder using this little plus. I could create a new folder, but just to make it easy, I'm going to change the name. I'll call it MacNexus test. And then I will just save it at the root level of the iCloud Drive. Done. Now I'm still in Pages. I just exported that as a PDF document. To keep the context fresh, I'd like to go to Files now and see what I just did. So I left Pages. I'm back here in my iPad. I'm going to launch the Files app, which I might as well bring to my dock, right? I mean, I'm going to use that quite a bit. So I just brought it down to my dock there on my iPad. I'm going to open it from the dock. And what did I just do? In Pages, I deliberately saved a file by exporting it as a PDF, renaming it as MacNexus test, and saving it at the root level of my iCloud Drive. Well, here I am in the Files app. I'm in my iCloud Drive. And right there at the root level, you see at the top is MacNexus test PDF. Now, this iCloud Drive file that I just stored the document in on my iPad is being shared to the cloud too. Well, I don't want to confuse things, but the amazing thing about that is if I go to my web browser now, by just going over to, I'm just going to open a web browser here. Yeah, just bear with me here. I'll, in the web browser, I want to show you something. This is all stuff I'm accessing right from a web browser, but check this out. If I go to this browser and
And you're on a PC, correct?
Yeah, I just happen to be, because of my work setup, it's real easy for me to sit in my chair here and do it from here. But yeah, even on a PC browser, I'm using a Chrome browser here, and you see I'm on a PC. But even so, I can access all this stuff on a PC. Remember earlier we said the Files app on my iPad would give me access to my iCloud Drive. Well, I also have it here on this PC, so I can click iCloud Drive, and here's all those files too. Pretty amazing, but once they load, here, it's take a second. Here's all the same files. I'm pulling them up on a PC, and look, there it is. MacNexus test. It's a PDF file. I created it 3 minutes ago. Where did I create it? Right here on my iPad. So
Pete, you to some limited amount, you can also open it as a Pages document on the PC still, correct?
absolutely, yeah. Ken brings up a great point, and that is that on the PC, you can also operate Pages in the very same way you would on a Mac or an iPad. Wait, Pete, did you just say that I can pop open a PC and utilize the Pages app on a PC? Yes, I did say that. Let's look here. How would I do that? Hold on. How do we get to this amazing property? You just point any web browser to iCloud.com. Now, if you try it on your iOS device, it's going to refer you to your iCloud app. So it doesn't really make any sense to go to iCloud.com on an iOS device since all of these apps are already built in there. The only time it would really make sense to access iCloud.com on a PC or another device is that you can't have physical access to your regular device, right? You need something out of your contacts, or you need something out of one of your notes, and you've lost your phone, you're traveling or whatever. This is a great way to be able to do that. I do know an example of somebody who was on a cruise and their phone tumbled into the water while they were taking a picture. Is the only device they choose to bring. They said, I'm not bringing my laptop. I don't want to be tempted to do any work. Well, they got stuck. And they called me and said, how do I access my? And I said, just go to the ship's computer, access iCloud.com. All your contacts will be there, all your reminders, your calendars, your notes, your trip is saved. Don't panic. So just a reminder that that's there. I'm just going to go to iCloud Drive, or I'll go to Pages, and you can see the exact same Pages documents that are available on my iOS device or my Mac are also available here. Look, I'll switch over to my iOS device on Pages, and look, all these same documents that I have here on my iPad are also here on my PC screen. And I didn't do anything to set this up. It's all happening automatically. So all that spiel to say, shoot, if you didn't even have access to your Mac or an iOS device, you could just go right here and access this stuff anytime. Even the files you save in iCloud Drive, I can access them all here. Okay, that dead horse is...
Aren't there just a few little features that you don't get when you're in the browser versus the full app itself, but other than that, fairly compatible?
Yeah, so Ken brings up a good point, which is when you're on the web browser version, there are just some things that it can't do, or the conventions are a little different. You can see here, but I will say that over the years, the convergence has gotten better and better. It was at the beginning when iOS version of Pages first released, it was very different, but now the parity is very good. And in fact, I'll just open the version on the PC to show you the similarity, and to say the only things I can see that are different in my use on both is really the back-end features like the settings and stuff. And that should load here in a second. Here's the settings I get on the browser version, and the settings I get on the iOS version are more robust because there's more control over what we're doing. So a couple subtle differences, but it could be used there if you needed to. Whew. So that's a bit about sharing and exporting. I did it backwards because I don't like to rush that part. It's a super important part. Now let's look at the different ways we can get stuff onto the canvas. I know that I'm talking to a great cross section of art and science out there. I know that there's those of you who never have any reason to drag an image onto a document. It ain't your thing. There's others of you who have very little use for text on a document. You like images. We're going to go cater to both today. We're going to get to both sides and to talk a little bit about why we'd even do this kind of stuff. The Pages canvas is incredible in that this rectangle, I'll call it a piece of paper or canvas here, can accept anything you want. Anything, anything. And then I'll prove it. But first, let's talk about the size of this document. By default, it is 8.5 by 11. The assumption here is that if you're using Pages, you're probably creating a document. Now, you might want to create a 20 by 30 poster. Send that PDF to Staples and have it printed and mounted to a poster board. Shoot, it's only 16 bucks. Why not? Sounds like a fun thing. You can create that right here in Pages and make your document size 20 by 30. So you're sending the exact right size of the target file. I want to show you how to do that. Change your document size in case you have that need. It is under that same menu we were at earlier, which has the ellipsis in the upper right-hand corner. Those 5 icons have everything. So that's where we're going to keep going back to those 5 icons. The ellipsis has these things here. And the one that we're going to look at right now is called Document Setup. It's about halfway down. I'm going to click on Document Setup. This is amazing to me. Now, when Pages first came out in iOS, you had very little control. Now, you have full control over the whole darn thing. Check it out. We can control whether it's portrait or landscape, and that's done here. We can also change the size. Letter and A4 are, just defaults if you want those, but custom size is there. We can change this to a 20 by 30 document, 20 inches wide by 30 inches tall. That's a poster. Got to make a poster for the church picnic, right? So let's make it a 20 by 30. Sometimes I'll go online and see if Staples or Office Depot is having a special on posters. A lot of times they do. They'll say, we'll run a poster for you, full color for $4. So if I make one of these, PDF file, email over to Staples with my document, they'll print a big 20 by 30 for me. Now you might ask, Pete, instead of just creating a 20 by 30 document, why don't you just send them an 8.5 by 11 and tell them you want it 20 by 30? What's wrong with that? Couple things is wrong with that. Number one, that document would need to be enlarged, because if it's 8.5 by 11 now and I want it 20 by 30, there's going to be some significant enlargement going on. Now, if they have the digital file, that doesn't mean that they can just use that to enlarge it, because some digital files have a fixed size, and every pixel you go above the fixed size is a guess by the computer, right? It's going, you want it bigger than that? We'll just try to guess what the pixels will look like bigger. That's why you get something called pixelization, right? Grainy prints or grainy images, because somebody took a tiny image and tried to stretch it out. If you start with the exact dimensions that you intend to finish with, then your document will be pixel perfect. There will be no artifacting, pixelization. So there are times you don't know your target document output size. And in those cases, you're just going to have to do your best. Now, resolution is the first reason why you wouldn't just take an 8.5 by 11 and tell them to blow it up by 20 by 30. The other thing is shape. All documents are not shaped equal. A 20 by 30 is a narrower rectangle than an 8.5 by 11. So if I had an 8.5 by 11 document and I told them blow it up to 20 by 30, by the time they got to 20 width, they will already have exceeded 30 high because the document's a different shape. So if you do send an 8.5 by 11 to Staples and say, make this 20 by 30, well, you're going to have blank edges because 8.5 by 11 doesn't fit in 20 by 30, even if you enlarge it, because they're a different shape. So you want to make sure your document's the right shape too. You might be going, well, Pete, it's a rectangle, duh. By shape, I mean aspect ratio. Well, how do the width sides differ from the height sides? That's aspect ratio. It gets complicated. You ever have like a photo that you want to put in a frame, right? An 8 by 10 maybe, but you had the photo printed 8.5 by 11. It's sort of hard to figure out what to cut off and squeeze into that smaller space. So you got to get the document size right. I'm going to go with a 20 by 30 here just for the sake of our demonstration, but under custom size. I won't do 20 by 30. I'll make it more conventional. I'll just go back to 8.5 by 11. 11 by 17, that's another common size. Now you also get to control whether or not your document has headers, footers, and a document body. Pete has been dreaming of this for years. I can now shut off document body. Oh, Pete, what the heck is a document body? The document body is a gutter, and that gutter is designed only for text. What's this gutter I speak of, you might ask? Well, if you've ever seen a flashing cursor on your screen, like I will demonstrate now, I just put a flashing cursor on my screen. It's flashing with an invisible border around it, right? There are margins in this document. There are invisible pieces of this document that make up its parameters. Well, one of the parameters is a body, and the body is inside an invisible rectangle. And when you type, as I'm doing now, you'll see that when it reaches the invisible edge, it drops down and keeps going. And then it reaches another invisible edge and reaches another invisible edge, because that thing in there, they call the body. I've called it a gutter for all these years, but I'll get my mind out of the gutter. We call it the body. Well, in some documents where you're doing very heavy layout, you don't need a body. If it's the flyer for the church picnic, you probably just need church picnic at the top, a big picture of a picnic basket, and maybe some details at the bottom. Why would you need a body or a gutter? Furthermore, the gutter is maddening sometimes because the gutter has a very strict set of rules. Any of you who have ever used Word will know that, right? Have you ever tried to put an image in Microsoft Word and then move it over? What does it do? It snaps right back. Why does it do that? Because it's following the rules of the body of the document. It's not following regular old willy-nilly page layout rules. It's following the same rules as text characters. Now, text characters got to have a lot of rules because they got to line up right. They got to be close together sometimes, further apart sometimes. There's a ton of rules for text. I don't mess with those rules. There ain't no rules for images. So why can't I just slap them anywhere I want? You can. But you have to know if you're putting them in the body section or they're just floating out there. Now, if you're doing a very heavy page layout document, turn them all off. I don't want no headers. I don't want no footers. And I don't want no document body. Well, Pete, you might ask, what will happen? My favorite. We convert to page layout and we get to do whatever the heck we want. But Pete, do you mean to tell me if I want to type a word, I got to put all the letters individually up there? No. We can make a text section where text will type just like we like. Doesn't have to be the whole document though. That's why I love this section. Choose the size, choose the orientation, choose whether or not you want headers, footers, and a body. And then we're done. Now I am going to turn headers, footers, and the body back on because we got to play with it for a little bit. Then I'll come back and turn it off. You may have noticed there's section at the top too. We won't get into that in this class. It's advanced class. So here I am with a document that is the size I want, and I'm deliberate about whether or not I want headers, footers, and a document body. Let's go take a look at what headers, footers, and document body do. Then we'll come back and turn it off. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, get out of my menu now, and here's my document. It's sometimes disconcerting to me because I see a lot of white space on my screen, and I don't see any document borders. Apple does this to continue with their mission statement of making technology vanish, right? Apple does have a very strong mission statement of making technology vanish, or in other words, get out of your way so you can do the thing you want to do. Technology vanish, get out of your way so you can do the thing you want to do. That's why the screen is so clean. There's nothing there because it's all out of my way. However, it might be a little bit too out of my way. Like for instance, I don't even see my flashing cursor anymore. Why? Well, because it's over in the corner and I can't see it. If I take my finger and I move things over a little bit, well, now there's the corner of my document and the flashing cursor, but it was way over there. I say that to say that, or acknowledge that context is important. It can get confusing sometimes. So I always zoom all the way back. I just use my fingers to do it. I go, zoop, I zoom all the way back. I can see my document now, and then I just zoom in as much as I feel comfortable with. Now this still shows me the borders of my document. I see the flashing cursor. I see the top. I feel good now that I'm in my document. Now I can start typing. This is where you can treat this as a word processing document, right? Because we chose to have body turned on, we can start typing, and we are going to get all the benefits of a best in class word. I'm going to misspell a word on purpose. Processor to use while composing writings like this. Christmas newsletter, pages. Quarterly report, pages. Okay, start typing. We are going to get all the benefits of best in class word processor. So here we are in the body. We chose to have a body. It gave us a body. It's this invisible gutter down the middle of the page that keeps of all our text where it's supposed to go. And what's cool about the body is it can do things like if we tap a word once, I'll use my finger on the screen itself because that's how most people use the iPad. If I tap a word once, it'll move my cursor there, maybe to the center of the word or the end of the word. If I tap a word twice, the word will be highlighted. This to me is a lifesaver because I see a lot of you really trying to get granular with your finger on the screen and grab that cursor and move it over and get right where you want it. Yes, Darian, I see those hands. Yes. Oh, no, she wasn't saying yes. That's me. Anyway, yeah, it can be tough. Well, with pages, you just double tap a word, double tap, and it selects the whole word. I like that. Triple tapping a word will select the sentence. So triple tap, you get the whole sentence.
And
Or,
for
I'm sorry.
reference on your Mac, it's the same thing in clicking.
Mouse clicks. Yep. Yep. Very good point. Yeah. And then guess what else you get when you double tap a word and it selects the word? You get our contextual menu, that black flag that pops up with all those hidden goodies that we don't get to access unless we're doing a certain thing. What is the thing I did? I selected some text. And this little black flag that popped up has all the choices you can have with text you've selected. I can highlight the text, as you can see here. That's a fun one. Speak the text. That's good for if you want to hear it back, right? I can select this and hit speak.
Start typing. We are going to get all the benefits of a best-in-class word processor to use while composing writings like this.
Wow. I obviously have my speed cranked up on my speak, but sometimes after I've written a couple of paragraphs, I'll speak the text, sit back and just listen without looking to make sure that it sounds right without looking at it. But and then you have style, and style can be something you want to apply to other text. So in this case, I can copy the style and then apply it to some other text by pasting the style. So another quick thing we can do there. In addition to those things in the contextual menu, if I double tap a word or a pair, double, triple tap to do the whole paragraph, whatever, I can also take advantage of all the formatting that Pages has to offer. And to get to any kind of formatting, I just look up in the upper left-hand corner where our cluster of icons is. And under those 5 icons, there's the paintbrush, the plus, the people thing, the ellipsis, and the document. The paintbrush does all my formatting. Anytime I want to format something, or another word, hey, I just thought of something. If you want to paint something, you're kind of reformatting it, aren't you? So I like the paintbrush there. Format, paint. You can reformat things. So if I tap that paintbrush, depending on what I have selected, I'll get a set of tools. If I had an image selected here, I would get a very different set of tools than the paragraph of text I have selected. Now, I won't spend too much time on these tools because you've all been using word processors since the beginning of word processors. You know what bold and italic and underline and align and justify, and you pretty much know all that stuff, I think. One thing I like about the way Apple does it, as opposed to the way other companies just using their main competitor, which is Microsoft's Word, you don't get the same granular type of control. Like, it's amazing to me. It still frustrates me in Word. You have to actually enter a coordinate and then lock it in to view what it does. So there's times when I'm in there entering something and clicking OK 5 or 6 times so I can see what my incremental changes are doing. In Pages, if I choose to format something, I can do so in real time with the changes taking place right in front of my eyes. I'll demonstrate that by doing line spacing here. You see here with line spacing, I can use the stepper here, and right before my eyes, it's showing me what it's going to look like once I apply these changes, which I think is a really good live preview of what it looks like. So just one more thing I want to show you while we're in this menu that is a little more for my geeky folks, but I'm going to make this text 12 points. I'm going to make it bold, and then I'm going to make it a color. I'm just going to choose this gradient here. Okay. I like that style. That style is a style that I may want to use later also. So I'd like to save that as a style so I can use it any old time. Now keep in mind, this goes with any text you formatted. So go ahead and format something. And once you find a style you like, now in this menu, both menus actually, the contextual menu, which you see up here, and this menu over here under paragraph style. Under style, if I tap that, I can copy that style there. But under this menu, if I go to the little flyout, I can click edit and I can add a new style here. Right? I can add a new style. If I add a new style, then I can save this and then invoke it anytime I want.
Even in other documents.
Good question. Let's try that. I'm not 100% sure. Let me go to a different document. I'll start typing stuff, select it, and then go under my paintbrush here and see if I have that style available. Nope, it's per document styles. Per document.
Thank you.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it extended, but be another couple years before they do that for us. You can see you get the basic word processing stuff, like the word I misspelled is underlined. So if I tap it, it'll suggest the right spelling. I can also tell it to learn that spelling, because if it was my last name, I don't want red dots every time I have a last, have my last name on the document. So I would say learn spelling if I wanted it to add it to my user dictionary. And then spell. You can also read it back as a spelling. Now, another thing, if you're on iOS or a Mac, you can also do your whole dictation thing, right? You can just do the dictation on the keyboard, which is the little microphone down here. And then I can type that way too. I prefer this way sometimes, but I find there is a problem, period. The way I talk and the way I think are not directly connected. So it is difficult for me to do stream of consciousness in a way that makes sense for somebody else to read, period. So you can also dictate your entire document if you want. What I like about dictation is Apple is smart enough to understand that there are grammatical forks in the road. There are grammatical forks in the road. Apple may want to give you creative license over your grammar or your sentence structure. In cases where Apple thinks there is some work to do there, it'll underline in blue. We had red for misspelling and blue for grammatical suggestions, let's call it. So let's tap that. Now it's basically telling me, hey, you're speaking. So I wasn't 100% sure if that was or her or are. So we could change it here, or we could just leave it alone and leave it there. Now, so here I have, it's a good time to turn on Do Not Disturb, I think. Oh, it's already on. So here I have this document. We've looked at text. I won't get into the billion ways you can edit text in a word processing document, but trust me.
Before you leave that, can you do one thing, define or look up? Because that's good for a thesaurus if you might. That's a great tool.
Oh, of course. Sure. Yeah. If you select a word by double tapping it, you have both define, you'll see define there. So I can hit the define.
On the Mac, it says look up.
I see. You have look up. This also has the lookup feature, but you have to say define first. So when you say define in iOS, you see step 2 there, search the web. That's the same as lookup. But here you can have consciousness. You can look at the dictionary. The thesaurus is also included here. So I'll get a simpler word. Prefer is probably better. If I go to define, I get the dictionary and I also get the thesaurus, and I can tap on either of those to see the expanded version. I can also go so far as to search the web, which will bring up a web browser. Now let me switch back over to Pages. Pete, you might ask, it would be really convenient if I could have the web browser on the screen at the same time as Pages so I could look things up alongside. Let's do it then. I'll get my dock here from the bottom and get my web browser, drag that over to the side, and then decide how I want to split these screens. I want to have it more like that, where I have my smaller web browser here. And this is just Safari, folks. Same as you might see on your phone, just Safari. It's a little small there. Let me see if I can get the mobile version.
I think that overloaded the graphics. It's
the mobile version should load, but there we go. Okay, so now I have a website here, and I have.
It's not loading.
Oh, you mean my? Oh gosh, look at that. I've stopped mirroring. Yeah, let me get this NDI back up. Start my broadcast again.
Maybe too much for the graphics.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I was in, let me see, where was I? I was in Pages, and then I pulled my web browser out, and there I have it right alongside. So, that's weird. It stopped again. Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, it's probably trying to, too much for the output.
Yeah, let me do that again, and then I'll do a little less flying around. There we go. Let me see what kind of lag. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay, sorry for that. I am now, okay. Let me just give it a second and see if it's catching up, or did it really disconnect?
When it paused, it was locked as soon as you slid Safari over.
Yep, I'm gonna not do that this time. Hey, we found a way to crash something. All right.
And it should be said, the chip in the iPad is so powerful. You can edit multiple 4K movies, but I think this is just some sort of conflict.
Yeah, I'm running an NDI broadcaster, and the NDI broadcaster is going to OBS, and OBS is compiling the video and sending it to Zoom. Somewhere in that lineup, there's probably a weak link. But sorry about it. Let me see if we're doing better now. I think so. Bear with me. Sorry about the technical difficulty. If there's any questions, Ken, you might want to take one. I'm going to stop my share and do a quick swizzle over here and get back.
We did have a couple on here. So talk was, well, one question was, and I answered her about the PC is you have to use the browser. It's not a program on the PC. And the other one Mary had is about changing her Word docs over to Pages. Yeah, you can keep both copies if you want, but you don't, if you're going to go forward with Pages, which is highly recommended, just save them as Pages, and then you can get rid of the old doc. And it hinders you if you take, and you're working in Pages, if you save it as a Word document and then open it back up in Pages, you're better off staying in Pages. And if you are doing it cross-platform, a really important thing is don't get too fancy with fonts. Don't get too fancy with the other stuff if you're going to have multiple people editing it, because the more complex it is, either in Word or in Pages, the less compatible it will be. It's still very good. Can the Bluetooth keyboard be used with your iPad? Yeah, if you have an Apple keyboard, it should work with virtually any iPad. Depending on the iPad you have, if it has the dock on it, a great way to use the keyboard for that. Logitech and Apple make great keyboards. The Apple one's great. Pete can speak to that possibly too, unless he's off.
No, I'm here. I'm gonna
Oh,
reboot my iPad.
I gotta make you co-host again. Okay, you're co-hosted.
All right, I'm just gonna give this a quick reboot.
And we're getting a little close on time too.
Yep. So the key, I know the keyboard question came up, and gosh, that's one that I have a lot of experience and a bit of a love-hate relationship with. I love a keyboard when you need it, and I hate a keyboard when you don't need it. So it's really hard. But I'm really liking this latest case I got. I think a good solution, though, because there's so many cases out there, and some of them are really expensive. This is Apple's version of the case. It was something like $350. I mean, but it's a piece of hardware. It's not just a case. It's a legitimate piece of hardware. But the Apple Magic Keyboard, I think it's $79. It charges using a lightning cable, the same cable you use to charge your phone. And it's lightweight. It doesn't fold. It's not fancy. You could slip it in your bag. That's such an easy solution. You can set it on any surface that the iPad goes on. You know, it's like, and it's not always attached to the iPad, which can be annoying if you don't need the keyboard. So that
The
Apple
one,
Magic Keyboard.
the one thing you want to look for if you are getting an attached keyboard for your iPad, whether it be a case or whatever, rather than having to charge the keyboard separately with its own charger, which inevitably you'll forget to plug in and things, the ones with the smart dock is what it's called, right, Pete?
The smart dock, yeah. And that's changed a couple times too. So you have to be careful about whether you're getting the right smart connector, right?
Smart connector, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, the smart connector is reliant on an iPad's generation because they moved it a couple times. So.
And the beauty of it is the keyboard is powered by the battery that's inside your iPad. So you simply have to charge the iPad for everything to work, and that's its connection. And it's a wonderful interface. And
I'm so glad I started with exporting because that's always the screen recording has stopped due to by multitasking and content resizing. Interesting. I didn't know that was going to be an issue, but here's what I'll do. I'll just how weird. They don't want you content resizing while you're sharing your screen. So
is that an NDI thing?
It looked like an Apple error message, but
well, we're kind of, unfortunately, I really think, I think we could take a show of hands here and you could do a 3-hour Empower Mac class, Pete, hint, hint.
Yes, I will definitely wrap it up.
You enjoy this.
I'll definitely wrap it up here. For those of you who know me, there is no end to the amount of time I can talk about this stuff. So there is some serious thought that's gone back into doing Empower Mac like this. There's some serious thoughts that's gone back into it. So hopefully we'll be able to do this and do deep dives and really knock out a project together with breakout rooms and stuff, because we have Zoom breakout rooms and work on the project together. I think we're gonna have some fun with it. But for tonight, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I just want to get to images and show how you can throw images on the canvas and even a couple of other surprises. So I'll just take a couple minutes to open the plus menu, because I did boast that you could put pretty much anything on your canvas. The paintbrush was to format things, right? You want to paint something or change the format of it, you use the paintbrush. To add things to your composition or to your canvas, you would use the plus. Before I do that though, let's revisit that ellipsis menu, the 3 dots, and let's turn off the body. Right? Because under document settings, we have headers, footers, and document body. Headers, by the way, are text you can enter at the very top of the page that will repeat on every page. So if you're doing a document where you want the title of the document to repeat on every page, that's what you use a header for. You could do page numbers that would number the pages as you grow your document. And then footers, same thing, but down below at the bottom of the document. I'm going to turn all 3 of those things off. I'm going to have a bodyless, footerless, everythingless document. There. So now we just have this blank page basically. 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and we can do with it whatever we want. What we don't have is a flashing cursor. Look, no matter what I do, there's no gutter, there's no body, there's no place for me to start typing. I can't put words in here. What the heck? Well, that's where we go to the plus. The plus gets you anything you want. Anything you want. Under the plus, we've got 4 tabs. You see the 4 tabs at the top? Those are the 4 categories of things you can put here. The first one is tables. You can put tables in here, lots of fancy tables, colorful tables. Tables can be changed if you put them on. The stroke width and color, the cell width, everything. Charts, you have shapes. I want to show you this because this is a really cool thing. Under shapes, and by the way, how'd I get here? Plus in the upper right. 4 categories at the top. One of them is these shapes. There is a lot of stuff here. These icons are really fun to use. And there's a ton of them. And they're editable. It's amazing. Look at all these icons you get. And they're built into Pages, Keynote, and Numbers. You can take advantage of these, and they're all royalty free. So if I tap one of these icons, it'll put it right on my document. I can resize, move it around. And they're all categorized, and you can search. If you wanted to do a star of some kind, you could just search star. Look how many different stars we got. I'm going to do this one. And you can format it. I'll use that paintbrush and I'll fill it in red, and I'll make a border on it. And the border will have a style, and that style will be kind of chalky looking, and the width will be thick. And it's looking rather communist here or something, but then I can control all this red star. Okay, that's gone. Earth is gone. And under that plus menu, 4 categories across the top. One of them is images or related. So if I do photo or video or a camera or record audio, all those things are possible. Record audio, why? Well, let me record here. And we may just want to record something to insert into our document, maybe some instructions of some kind for the recipient to use. But I'll just show you. I can put that in here. I can preview it. Maybe some instructions of some kind for the recipient to use. I can edit that and then hit insert here. Now I have a little audio document. That audio document, if I go to format, I can tell it to loop. I can make the volume higher or lower. I can put a description in there. I can say, this will help. Going fast here, but there's that. This will help. And then those who have accessibility turned on will see a description there. Under the plus also, I have web video. Look how amazing this is. I can enter the URL of any YouTube video, any one of them. What? Let's go to YouTube. Let's find a video. Here it is, Fusion 360 with Paul McWhorter. I'm going to hit share that video and just copy the link. You can copy a link from anywhere. You can copy a link from Safari as long as it's a video link. Now I can go back, paste the link in here, and I've just pasted a YouTube video right in my Pages document. This can be done with Keynote also, because you might be thinking, well, Pete, Pages, why would I want to put a video in a document that I'm most likely to print? You wouldn't.
Pete,
But
is that just a live link, or it doesn't really download the video, correct?
Doesn't download the video. It's a live link. So internet access would be required to play the video, but it's amazing. I can sit here and play it right in my document.
Hello, guys. This is Paul McWhorter from Top 10.
Hi, Paul. He's strict. Be careful if you're going to take one of Paul's videos.
If you put that in, if you transfer that into a PDF, so will it come out the same?
Good question. The video will not play in a PDF. However, the link will remain active. So they'll see this thumbnail in the PDF. And then if they tap the video, YouTube will open in a separate link. It won't play in the body of the message.
And the dictation, the voice won't either from the top one. Your voice memo won't play in a PDF either.
Oh, exactly. Yep. No voice memo. These interactive features are really for sort of I don't know. What I would do with it is create a Pages document and keep these things in there with text, like this is the video where I learned how to do this in there. This is what I use it for. Sharing it, I don't know how I'd share really that. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you. And boy, if you had fun tonight, keep your eye out for that Empower Mac online virtual Empower Mac, because we're really dive in. I have my Apple Pencil here. So the last thing I just want to demonstrate is anywhere where there's a flashing cursor, I can spring my Apple Pencil into action. So this is new with iOS 14, by the way. You see that flashing cursor? That's my invitation to grab this thing. Now watch, my handwriting is terrible. First of all, I'm left-handed. Who's even left-handed? That's crazy. Second of all, I can just rest my wrist right on this glass and start writing. Look how terrible my handwriting is. Start writing. Oh no. Hey, I was supposed to be bragging here and showing off how sloppy my handwriting was. Let me try that again. Start writing. I mean, it's not psychic, but hey, start writing. And check this out. For those of you who might be a little old school, if I remember how to do this. Come on, do I get points for even remembering cursive? My gosh, it'll even recognize my cursive. All I did was grab my pencil and started writing, and it's natural. I can write fast, make scribbles, drawings, stuff like that. So if you have an Apple Pencil, great way to just if you're into writing your own words, you can take notes. Here's another cool thing. Sorry, last thing. Gosh, you guys are gonna be so mad at me for going over. But if I make a little sketch here.
Nobody's eyes are getting sleepy yet.
Okay, good. If I make a little sketch here, I can say Ken. Okay. These things that I write down here become recognized by my iPad. And I would be able to tap that phone number to call it or add it to my contacts because it's recognized by the iPad as an actionable thing. So you know how in mail, when somebody puts a phone number, you can tap or click that phone number in mail and it'll add it to your contacts and stuff. Even stuff you've written here can be added and used as real text. I'm telling you, Pages is incredible. If you play around with it for a little while, you'll notice some incredible features that I'm sure will get you where you want to go in the way of making these beautiful visual documents on a canvas, as well as even some word processing. One last thing. Sorry, I know I already said one last thing. Bob and I are collaborating on a document, Bob White. And I've gotten a lot of you over the years who have brought me this scenario. You'll say to me, hey, myself and my siblings are trying to write a thing about our history. And we want to collaborate, but it's so hard to do an email thread and all that stuff. What's your solution? Well, anybody with an iPhone now can have Pages. And by the way, it's free. I should have started with that, but Pages is free. Everybody's got it. If you buy an iPad, an iPhone, a Mac, you get it free. So everybody has it for free if they want it. And here in this document that I'm collaborating with Bob, I'm just going to start typing things. Bob and I are writing a story. And I'll kind of jump down to the next page here. And Bob here, in this little cursor here in the upper right-hand corner, you see that little number 1. Bob's been invited to this document. So you see Bob White, he's invited. He is also currently watching me. How do I know he's watching me? Because the light is green. Uh-oh, what is this? Bob, look, here's my hands. Bob is actually typing in the document. Now he has the green cursor and you see the little green triangle down there. That indicates that that's Bob typing. Now let me add another person here. How about that Al Trivet? I'll say, Al, why don't you jump in this document with us? And you don't have to, Al. I'm just putting you on the spot here. I'll text that to Al. And then now Al's been invited. And you can see I get a little invited note there that I've invited Al. If Al chooses to jump in here, we'll see he'll get assigned a color. And we'll see his little cursor pick up. and Al can add photos or text of any kind that he wants. And then I'll be able to see those things in real time. I can select something that Bob wrote here, and I can also make comments on it. You know, I don't have to delete it or change it. I can just make a comment and say, I like this, Bob. Let's go with it. Whatever. There we go. And then I hit done, and then Bob or whoever comes along. Hey, Al Trivett just joined. This party's getting, look, Al's dot is red, meaning that when Al scrolls down to this part of the document, we'll see a red dot too. And this little yellow square now denotes that I have a comment here. So if I tap that comment, or Bob taps that comment, or Al taps that comment, it'll pop right up. So, oh, there's Al with a, oh, Bob just made a little drawing. Maybe he's sad because he has a little typo there, or maybe he's jealous because we invited Al and he only wanted to be me and him. That can happen too.
Oh, I dragged that in.
Oh, you drug that in. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You could do a drawing with the Apple Pencil. You can drag that in from the internets. Little sad sack there. Anyway, folks, I'd go all night if you don't stop me. So I'm going to stop it right there. I want to close this with a thank you and an invitation to ask questions. I'll stick around as long as you'd like, but I do know I've been inconsiderate of the time. I've hogged it all here. I apologize, and I'll hand it back to you. Humble apology, and don't get me started. See what happens when you get me
started. We'll do the drawing, and then if you can stick around for a little bit, it'd be great. Perfect. And the other thing that he wasn't able to do because of the technical thing is you can basically bring in images from Safari and drag it right across, right into Pages, and that works wonderfully. But there's some little quirk there that didn't allow it to happen, but it works fine. So, Pete, you know, amazing as always, and it's amazing how you've scratched like 2% of the surface of Pages. There's so much more, and you're just like dying to get it out. So what we'll do is we'll do the drawing, and then if anybody wants to stick around and ask questions, I think that's the best way to do it. What we have tonight is our typical, we're going to do 4 $25 gift cards to the company that starts with A, and we're going to do 3 $100 gift cards to the same company that starts with A, and one of those will be to the entire 352 members, but the rest of it is we have 51 members tonight that are in attendance. So we're going to do the 25s first. If you win a 25 and then you win 100, well, you can choose which one you want to keep, but you got to give up one of them, and I would think you'd give up the 25. So anyway, I'll do a Siri. Actually, Pete, if you want, since you have yours up, so we don't have to do it, if you want to have Siri pick it'll be a random number between 1 and 51. We're going to do the 425s, then we'll do 2, and then I have the large number for you to do for the last one.
Perfect.
And we know it's inclusive when it does that. So if you want to do it, go right ahead.
It was between 1 and what?
1 and 51. We're going to do a few of those.
All right, let's play which device is going to pick this up, because there's a watch, a phone, an iPad.
Well, no, can't you activate it with the button on? Activate the button on the iPad.
Oh yeah.
The sleep wake button.
And it was between 1 and 50, right?
1 and 51. Random number between 1 and 51.
Number between 1 and 51.
Here's what I found.
Pick me a random number between 1 and 51.
It's 14.
Okay, 14, Lisa and Mary. Lisa, you're muted. You're still muted, Lisa. You can put your click the mute button in the left or hold down your keyboard.
Yeah, the keyboard wasn't working for some reason.
Okay.
Dennis Irwin, sorry folks.
Dennis Irwin is 14. Congratulations. So
Woohoo! Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Pete. Do 3 more of these for the 25.
Pick me a random number between 1 and 51.
The answer is 48.
48.
48 is Rona Harper.
Congratulations, Rona.
Random number. Wait, I forgot.
Thank you.
Pick me a random number between 1 and 51.
It's 43.
Right next to 48, 5 away.
Melissa Green.
Congratulations, Melissa. All right, for the last of the $25 Amazon gift card, I don't want to set my thing off. All right, Pete, another 1 through 51.
Pick a number between 1 and 51.
The answer is 13.
13.
Darian.
Darian, great. So now we're going to move on to the, we're going to do, Pete, 2 more 1 through 51s. And these are for the $100 gift cards. And what is, Lisa will get me the list. So she has the list. We don't know what numbers anybody is. And then what'll happen is you'll get an email this evening with the gift card in your email that you're registered with MacNexus. So for the first $100 gift card, 1 through 51.
Pick me a number between 1 and 51.
That would be 46.
It likes the 40s.
Near the 40s again.
Yeah. Ray Chung.
Lucky me.
Ray Chung, all righty. One more.
Pick a number between 1 and 51.
It's 51.
Haha, we know it's inclusive.
Tom Smithson.
Tom Smithson, congratulations. All right, Pete, this will be a 1 through 342. So this is our entire membership so that they don't have to be present to win the last of the $100 gift cards.
Pick a number between 1 and 342.
It's 10.
Wow.
10.
10. Braden Walker. Am I pronouncing?
Oh yeah, Annette and Braden Walker. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Fantastic. So we'll get those out to you this evening. Congratulations, everyone, on that. And let's move right along. If you have any questions for Pete, this would be a great time. You can either raise your hand in the participant window or just unmute yourself and ask a question. Pete's getting kudos on the board here. They're wishing us happy holidays. And yep, you answered the Bluetooth one already, Pete. So Karen Downs. Oh, Karen will have a good question. Go for it, Karen.
Yeah, I had a question on the collaboration. Do you both have to be on the same type of device, or can one be on the iPad and another on the Mac?
Yeah, no, don't have to be on the same type of device. In fact, you can access from a web browser. So yeah, doesn't matter what kind of device you're on. You can access anywhere where you can get to your iCloud and an internet connection.
Cool, thank you.
And that applies to all the pages, numbers, and Keynote. Any other questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Hey, yes. Joe Dobrowolski. If you look at my picture, I've put my camera off, my video off, and all of a sudden this picture comes up, and my wife doesn't know how she got that on there.
Well, we can't see your picture.
Oh, you don't see, what do you see up there?
I see it.
Well, okay, well, oh, the picture of your family there?
Yeah. Now, where did
that's, do you have your video on? You don't have your video on. That's your profile picture in your Zoom account.
Oh, okay. My profile picture in the Zoom account. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Let's see. There was a question here.
Oh, wait a minute. How do I get to that profile picture?
It's in your Zoom account.
Oh.
Preferences.
Pete, somebody, Don McBride said, I opened Pages on my MacBook and it doesn't look like Pete's. It's version 8.2. That's pretty dated, isn't it?
Let me see the version on the what iOS
on Mac.
What Mac OS version are you running?
Don, what's your Mac OS version from About This Mac?
Yeah, I'm doing what is it, Mojave?
So I'm on Mojave and my Pages is 10.1.
Okay, I looked under the, see if there's any update option here.
In the App Store?
Yeah.
Oh. $100. That's interesting. Yeah, you may want to, one thing on your App Store is sign out of your Apple ID and sign back in again on the App Store. That might cause it to look for it. That's the only thing I can think of. Tom Smithson has a question. He's got his hand up. Go ahead, Tom.
Well,
And
number one,
congratulations.
yes, thank you very much, because in all of the however long MacNexus has been around, this is the first time I've ever won anything,
Oh, wow.
aside from a coffee cup. I do have a question for Pete. Pete, I do a lot of composition in Pages, but unfortunately I have PC people who can't handle Pages documents.
Right.
So I convert them or send them as Word documents.
Mm-hmm.
And the frustration that I have is that the conversion of the Pages document to a Word document loses a great deal in formatting.
Oh, yes.
Is that particularly if I'm doing lists and things like that, it just totally blows all of the list styles.
Almost any formatting does. It's really, yeah, they're just such different. It's like taking the battery out of a Volkswagen and trying to put it in a Camaro, it's just like they just don't get each other.
Always think simple and lowest common denominator.
Yeah, just text is fine, but if you're exporting anything but text out of Pages to Word, you're going to lose.
And vice versa, it's a little smoother going from Word to Pages, but it's got issues too.
Yeah, but they're very, very small by comparison.
Yeah, and again, they can always open it. They can do an iCloud account and do it on the computer or on the browser if they want. So Joellen, thank you. And Joellen, you're next.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm on a Zoom call, mail will pop up and take half the screen. And how do I make it stop doing that? I don't know if it's when messages come in or what, but I don't have notifications set up on that. So I don't know why that happens.
Quit mail.
Well, mail.
No, he said quit mail.
Well, that's what I have to do, but I'd rather not have to do that. I mean,
that's weird.
Wait, so mail comes to the front on your Mac?
No, it grabs half the screen. It starts screen sharing with Zoom.
When you get a new email?
That might be what makes it happen.
Wait, let me back up. What device are you on?
On PowerBook.
I see. And right now you're looking at a screen that has Zoom on one half and mail on the other?
Well, not right now. It hasn't happened tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes Mac OS does have a feature that will pin two different apps to two different halves of the screen. This is a feature that's been around for a while, but they're really trying to make it prominent in Big Sur. So if you are running anything after, I mean, I'm sure you're using an OS with the feature of pinning an app to both halves of the screen. You just have to disable that for those apps in order for it to happen, because you are right. What happens in Mac OS is you can pair two apps together, and when you launch one, the other tends to open with it, because the Mac thinks that that's what you want, is a paired desktop with those two applications. It's a little complicated to untangle that. You may have to get into Control Center and desktops and stuff to untangle that. But if you called Ken and guys did a virtual thing, I'm sure in 5 minutes he'll find that setting. And
yeah, it's almost like when Mission Control would take over when you didn't want it to.
Yeah,
exactly. Especially if I'm presenting.
So are you full screen on your mail though? Could that be it? No, you're not full screen because you're on.
Yeah, I'm not even.
Zoom likes, there's some settings in Zoom also that say take over and let me be the whole screen. So you might go look in your general setting, in preferences general in there, because sometimes that'll do it. Now the other thing that can happen is when someone else is sharing a screen with you, there's some settings where it will say let that take over. So you want to tweak at some of those settings. I actually think it might be more Zoom related, since it seems to only happen in Zoom rather than being Mission Control or pinned to a desktop issue.
Okay. All right, I'll do some
That's a
snooping
good
around.
question on that. Barbara, go ahead.
Thanks, Pete. This was great. I haven't used Pages that much, and I was kind of following along on my iPad, and I created a little document while you were speaking. And so, if I want to save this document, what do I do? And if I want to delete it, what do I do? It's on my iPad now.
Yeah. The beauty of Pages, first of all, is that you don't even have to save it. If you use the button in the upper left-hand corner to exit the document, and the button does say documents up there,
Right.
it'll just be in your documents. So you now own it.
Okay.
Now, your next
Okay.
question, your follow-up question, which is, well, how do I get rid of it? That would be in the upper right corner. You see there's a select button. If you select, now you can tap as many as you want or just a single one, and down at the bottom you can hit the delete.
Select where when you're in all of the documents?
Yeah, once you've left the document and you're in the document chooser, that's where
Oh,
you'll
I
see
see it, yeah.
Exactly. Then you can, not only can you delete from there, but the select button will also allow you to share it. You could share like 5 of these at a time, select a bunch and hit the share button. So there's other things there besides just deleting, but yeah, that's where you would do that.
And Barbara,
Okay,
just think of it like auto save. It's saving it automatically for you. And its default spot is to save it on the cloud, which then inherently makes it very shareable with all your devices.
Yeah. So so I see where it is now. And so then if I wanted to delete it, I would hit select and then delete it at the bottom.
Exactly. Select and then select it.
Tap on the document. And
Tap on and then delete at the bottom. Yeah, that's how you would manage that.
And
Thank
I
you
have
so
to
much.
say,
I learned a lot.
Sure.
Thank you.
It's funny. You pull up Word and you feel like, oh God, it's just an ugly document and it's just kind of doesn't inspire you. But with Pages, you have so much creative control that it all of a sudden doing a newsletter for a group is fun because you can be creative and you can let your juices just flow, and it's just it's so rich. And I can remember when first class I ever had with Pete, what is that, almost 2 decades ago now. But I had done a 4-page kind of catalog sheet for this product.
I remember that.
Home, and I was up till 4 a.m. tweaking it, and it was light years different. And I thought the first one looked pretty good, but it's so fun, and that's what it should be. And it really, that's the whole Mac Apple mantra is, hey, let yourself go and have fun with it. And there's so much more underneath, and the more you explore, the more you have fun with it.
Oh, well, this
And
was
the
really fun.
undo.
I even put a picture in it, a photo.
What's that?
I said I even put a photo in my document.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're off and running. By next meeting, you'll design the brochure for the club, I'm sure. That's kind of what Ken did. He took that class and he got home, and I remember he came back. Now I remember, you jogged my memory, Ken. You were like, look, I was able to do this. And I was like, yes, finally, because Word will drive you mad. So Pages, I definitely reach for Pages when you need that.
Yeah.
Need that
so
canvas.
Any other questions? Gosh, I mean, I think it's great that everybody's been hanging on this long, and that shows how compelling this is. So if you have any other questions, this would be a great time.
Don, the good news about the good news about your comment is since it only had open, that means you already have it, which is good. Bad news is your battery died. So sorry we missed you for a minute there, but yeah, you already have Pages on there, so you can just launch it now.
Back to the original question, it doesn't look like yours, and other people seem to have, was it Ken had version 10?
Oh yeah, maybe you have an earlier version of it. I highly recommend updating it. It's free. You can do it right now. It'll probably take 5 minutes, but once you update to the latest version, it'll look like mine, and you get all these features and stuff.
Well, how do I update it? I mean, I thought I could download it from the Apple Store.
Yeah.
You're on a Mac, right, Don?
What?
You're on a Mac?
I'm on a Mac, on MacBook.
Yeah, it may be such that you delete the app completely. Your data will still be there, and then go into the App Store and get the app again.
Okay.
Because you should be beyond that, because I'm on Mojave on this particular computer and I'm on 10 something.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give that a try. I did have a problem before. I got a notice about updates, and there was a whole bunch of apps that were in the store that needed to be updated, but it said I couldn't update them. And
Well,
I restarted. And I don't think I've tried.
Well, this could be also one of the perils of letting your OS kind of get out of sync, is that applications rely on OS services, and then you're restricted in how much you can update your apps because the OS is relying on a certain kernel to run. So it can cause a little bit of trouble there too if you're lagging behind a bit in your Mac OS updates, and sometimes there's good reason to do that. But if you are, that may be something holding you back from the latest version of Pages too.
And on the other hand, make sure your Mojave is up to date, because I know that I got a Pages update the last time I updated my Mojave.
I'm on 10.14.6.
Yeah, that's current. All right.
Okay,
Any other questions? This is the time. And again, yeah, I think everybody needs to encourage Pete to, he just needs a little bit to put over the edge here to do. You don't have to do a whole suite of them. Just, in fact, somebody here said, so next month, will you do numbers is the question that just came up. But
yes, only for my nerds, my nerds. It'll just be a bunch of us nerds on the phone.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. No other questions. I think it's time. I've got to email a bunch of people their raffle prizes. So good deal. Pete, thank you again so much. Merry Christmas, and have a great one. And you have fog down there tonight? We've got fog here.
It's pretty foggy and
crazy.
Cold. Yep.
Makes you not want to go out of your house, right? Oh, wait, that's COVID.
It's a good thing Gavin Newsom won't let us out anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys are in that garage.
Thank you, Pete.
It is cold out here, Bob. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to come and hang with you guys. Love it here with you guys. We'll do it anytime, and we'll see you next time. And I'd love to do numbers, so dial me up for that. We'll do it.
You need your neck warmer. You need Apollo out there.
Oh yeah, where's my boy? Yep.
All right, Pete. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great one, man. All right, everybody. Merry Christmas. Al, thanks. Glad you figured out what it was.
Yeah. It's a great class.
That permission stuff. So
yeah. Make the migration. You got to turn things on that you thought were already on. And
well, and Big Sur is more locked down than other things have been anyway. So and I and even Mojave was that way a little bit, and so was Catalina. But it's it's what it is. So
yep.
Cool.
All right. Good class, man.
Have a great one, everybody.
All right, buddy. Take care. Stay safe, man.